I want to tell you guys, I met Melvin. Interestingly enough, I'll show you guys how I met Melvin. Melvin actually, he sent me a message through Twitter, and it was real funny. He said, "You took the name I wanted for Twitter and on YouTube, and my daughter's name is Madison. So we both have Maddies." Yeah. Oh, you know what? There you
That's
go.
true.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of lost you there for a second. So, anyways, so Melvin, I started thinking. I was like, how do I respond to this? So obviously you can see my reply right there. I said, I know what you mean. I tried to get the daddy, as in DADDY, when I was getting Maddie's daddy, but that was taken, so I went with the IE. I said Madison's a beautiful name, and so
And
yeah, and so from that point on is kind of how Melvin and I started talking back and forth on Twitter, and I've seen him grow as a YouTuber. I've also seen him um, grow as a father. So that's been really cool to see this change and development in you, Melvin. So tell us a little
thanks,
bit.
man.
Tell us a little bit about you as a new father and your daughter. How old's your daughter?
She is 11 months right now, and yeah, next month she'll be 1. So
Wow.
she's over in the next room right now with mommy.
Oh, good, good. So she's already
Yeah,
gonna be 1, huh?
yeah, man.
That's crazy. So I was looking
Yeah,
back to see when I actually had when you had messaged me, and that was back in April actually. And then I guess Melvin and I started talking a little bit more. I was like, man, I could either like I saw this guy. I went to his YouTube channel, and I was like, I could either like he was doing the same kind of stuff I was. I was like, oh, I've got competition out there. so so I was
yeah,
like,
man.
I could either embrace what he's doing, or I could try to just try to compete with him. So we decided to really just start supporting each other. And so
Yeah,
that's
I really appreciate the help too, man, because because talking to you, it actually got me connected to the other YouTube people that I know, like Shan and Dan and Alice and all that. So a lot of times it's really important to like connect with people and talk to people. So it's because of you that I was actually able to network with those people, which is pretty awesome. You know?
yeah, they're really good people, and the great thing about that small community we have is that we all help each other out. But that's all kind of
Yeah.
beside the point. So today we're talking about kind of like the challenges, like I said earlier, the challenges and struggles that we've gone through as new fathers. Um, so before we get into that, real quick, Melvin, you've got something, you've got a giveaway going on that we will talk about pretty soon toward the end of this broadcast. What are
Okay.
you giving away?
Right now I'm doing a $100 Amazon giveaway. There's a video for that, and then I'm also doing a giveaway for 2 pre-workouts from Olympus Labs. Uh, I talked with that company, and they were nice enough to offer to help me out with one of the giveaways on that. So that's what's going on.
That's cool.
Excited about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, and your subscriber count has grown tremendously over the last
yeah,
month or so.
yeah. Hopefully they stick around.
Yeah, I hope so. All right. So let's just kind of get in. So I noticed that watching your videos and some of the things that you talk about, you get into a lot of the controversial type of topics. We won't get into that here because I don't want to be demonetized on this video.
Yeah.
but
Uh,
Melvin, man, he's very bold, and he speaks about all these different parenting things. And one thing that I've noticed in speaking to Mel is that, or Melvin, that we share a lot of the same opinions and a lot of the same views, and so that's why I wanted to have him on today to kind of see where he's at in his journey as a father and kind of how it started. So I guess Melvin, let's just start by okay, you find out your girl's pregnant, right? And
yeah.
so you start going through that process of pregnancy. Tell us a little bit of what that was like for you.
Um, I mean, I remember the first time when we found out together, and it was like just this crazy, scary, excited feeling. And I don't know, we were pretty. I think my girlfriend was like more just surprised and kind of frozen. But it just, I don't know, it took us by surprise, and it was a lot of work. It was a whole new experience for both of us being new parents,
Mm-hmm.
and it was definitely a journey. Because I feel like dads too, when once mom becomes pregnant and she starts, getting further along in her months, that we have to pick up extra. We have to do more. We have to support mom. We have to take over stuff that mom may not be able to do anymore.
Yeah.
Might be harder for her to do, and the doctor's appointments and planning
Oh
and all that
man.
stuff. There's like nothing that really prepares you for all
No.
that.
No,
You,
you could be. You're right. You can be the most prepared person in the world, and you're never going to be prepared for, especially like we only have one child as well, and you know, especially from what I hear from other dads and other people talk, that first one is always kind of the hardest because you don't know what to
yeah,
expect.
yeah.
So tell us maybe something specific that you maybe struggled with, or maybe a challenge specifically that you had during pregnancy for yourself as a you know a like a I guess a future father. So what happened there?
Um, During pregnancy, like through the process, I guess, of before the baby was born, right? I guess. Um, like I was saying, I guess the picking up more roles, being more responsible
Mm-hmm.
from, and it's a completely different life from when you're single. Um, the cooking, the cleaning, something that changed me. I don't even know if I have it around here. I started like planning. Like I had to, when she became pregnant, like I had to plan all the appointments. Like I had to use like, if it wasn't for this, I would have been totally
Wow.
discombobulated and disorganized.
Yeah.
You know, um, and just planning everything out. And I was able to make it to all the doctor appointments. And it's figuring things out with the work too. Your schedule: is she working? Am I working? Can we both go? Like, you know, um, I guess one of the most challenging things for us too was when she had preeclampsia. So like
Oh.
we had to,
Yeah.
she had to have the baby earlier than expected.
Yeah.
Like the day that it happened, like we didn't really sleep much the night before, and we had to go to a doctor appointment that morning. So we
Yeah.
thought like, okay, we'll just go to the appointment. We'll come back home. We'll go to sleep. Little do we know, like that's the day that we walked in there, and they're like, "You're having the baby today." And we're just like,
Mm.
"What?" Like,
Wow.
it wasn't even like it was before we planned it, and it was just kind of crazy. My girlfriend started crying, and we were just like, it was so shocking
Wow.
when it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And you know, you sound like you were really planned out and really scheduled. Me, I think for myself, I was a little bit. I don't know if denial is the word, but just not the not the person I should have been. I wasn't as
Hmm.
supportive as maybe I should have been um, for Mandy,
Hmm.
and
Right.
I found myself being somewhat selfish, and I wouldn't have said that at the time because I felt like I was doing everything that I could, but in retrospect, looking back, I felt like there were a lot of different things that I could have done. I could have been more supportive. Um,
Right.
maybe done more. Like I'll give you a quick example of what I did. So I had this old Mustang that I had for like 15 years, and Mandy kept telling me, "Look, we need a different car. You can't take this vehicle, with Maddie in it." Because I was, or
Mm.
yeah, so I was like, "No, I'm keeping this car." I was trying to hang on to it, and the car was breaking down on me like it seemed like every freaking week. So
Uh.
yeah, so I finally, and this was May. I finally sold the car and we got a new one in May, and Maddie was born in June. So, and not only that,
uh.
but I was also traveling a lot of the time, and so I didn't take into consideration there were some trips maybe I didn't have to take that I took.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Um, so that's where I was
Yeah.
during
I was,
pregnancy.
and I hear you on that because I totally agree that like not everybody's situation is the same. A lot of parents have different situations. Some dads have work situations where they can't be there. So I was grateful that I was able to be. And I just wanted to tell you too, like a friend of mine, I'm not gonna say his name, but I just want to share his story too. Like one of the other topics for dads is like uh what do they call the leave for moms? It's
That's maternity leave, right?
mm, maternity leave, and for dads it's paternity leave, right? So a
Right,
lot of times dads don't get that paternity leave. They don't get much time.
right.
A friend of mine, he only was able to take 2 days off
Wow.
uh because he didn't have the hours. So it kind of sucks for dads sometimes too. I mean, I know I get that mom is the one going through all the physical stuff, but a lot of times too, mom needs that help,
Hmm.
and for some dads, they can't even be there for a couple days. They just got to go right back to work. So it kind of sucks for them.
Yeah, I mean, looking a little bit ahead to an article we're going to look at later, it talks about in the U.S.
Mm.
how men generally, especially like in corporate America, don't get that same kind of maternity leave or paternity leave like mom
Yeah.
does, and it's different in other countries. And if you're watching this rebroadcast later on, I would love to know your comments. If you would post those down below about how much leave time you might get, especially for the men, and how much leave time that they get. I know in other countries, like women get like a full year.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I don't know what country that is, but I had heard of that too. Like
Hmm.
1 year. That's got to be nice.
I, I want to say it's Australia, just after talking to some of our friends, right? But I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
Um, okay, so let's. I know you brought this up just a few minutes ago. We're going to kind of move along a little bit. Um,
Okay.
let's let's talk about labor. It sounds like you guys went into labor right away. Um,
Yeah. Went into labor right away, and I just wanted to plug into one of my tips. This
okay.
tip was because of mom. Was that to have your bags ready? Like, don't wait
Oh
till
man.
last minute to get your hospital stay stuff. Luckily, because my girlfriend, she was like, have this stuff ready because in that moment, you never know when you're gonna have to have the baby, and then you're like scrambling and you're running around. And I still had to come back home because we had one bag in the other car, but like everything was ready to go. So I just picked up the bag and I went back to the hospital. Like it wasn't that. It just kind of, and it could be a hazard too if you're rushing through traffic and you're trying to
Hmm.
go back and trying to get because you don't want to miss any of the moments of mom and like,
Yeah.
the baby and all that stuff. So um, definitely that would be one of my tips for that. And
Yeah,
well,
man.
I lost my train of
No,
thought.
no, it's
Sorry.
fine. No, I totally get it. I was kind of looking back to see there's something you wanted to talk about regarding. Let's. I guess this is as good place as any. So because this kind of ties into like the struggles and challenges during pregnancy and into labor and into having the child. So let's talk about how were you treated as a how were you treated as a dad or as a father? You know, going to these appointments with your girl.
All right, that's a great topic. At the doctors that we went to, most of them were like super like they were good, they were really nice, but like in the hospital specifically, there were some nurses that walked in there and
Hmm.
like I didn't feel like they made me a part of the experience. Like they would walk in, they wouldn't look at me, they wouldn't acknowledge me, they would just be like, hi mom, and like, oh what, they'll give mom this bit of information and that's it, and they'll walk out. And I wasn't all nurses, but it was some nurses, and I kind of didn't like that. And I think for dads, nurses in the hospital, they should try to make that as as a part of the experience as much as they can to make them feel more involved, because a lot of times dads may not be involved. So if you're not making them part of the experience, it's just gonna kind of, the dads that do want to be there, it's not gonna make them as involved. And it's important to educate them too, because I saw this video when I was in the hospital that was talking about that dads are more likely to um, I think it's called shaken baby syndrome, where like
Yeah.
you get upset, you get angry, and you just act out your rage.
Yeah.
There was this video that I saw, and I was really glad that I saw it because there was a couple times that I got upset, plenty of times when I was watching Maddie.
Yeah.
Not to sidetrack too much, but like that video reminded me, like if you have to just put the baby down, let the baby cry, go cool off, and then come back and take care of the baby. So important things like that. That sometimes I feel like nurses, they come in there and like you're not a person, like you're not a parent. It's just mom. And it's
Wow.
not like that.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm gonna. Yeah, I had the same experience, and by nurses or doctors not including the father, it makes them less likely to even want to be part of that experience. Um,
Exactly.
involve the dad early on. You know, I agree. Like, not all nurses were like that, but there were a lot that were like that. They would walk in, maybe not even look at me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously, I'm right here. You can
Yeah.
talk to me too.
Yeah.
Not cool at
Yeah.
all. I do want to kind of say something Chanel had written. She said she agree. She is a mom, by the way.
Mm.
Chanel Cube. She says she agrees. A mom does need the help, and paternity leave should be given as soon as the baby is born. Heck, I think as soon as mom goes into labor, or even if there's a scheduled date for that birth. Maybe even a couple days before. Um, she said that her husband Sebastian only got a week because he just switched
That's crazy.
yeah, he just switched companies and
Hmm.
he didn't even have the leave. Um,
And that's something you got to really consider too. I think about this sometimes. If you're going to switch a job, just make sure and realize that you go to a new job, you might not get paternity leave, or there's some jobs you have to be working at least a year
yeah,
before you could even be considered for any kind of paternity leave or anything. So that's something to keep in mind too when switching jobs.
yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, so let's get back to labor. So tell me a
Yep.
little bit for you what labor was like. You can tell us as much or
Okay.
as little as you want. Kathleen and
Yeah.
family just joined us, and so did Christina from Brothers and Best Friends.
Thank you guys for joining. So labor, it was crazy, man. So like I said, she had preeclampsia, so she had to get a C-section, and they took her in there. They prepped her. I was outside waiting, which felt like forever. And when I finally came in, she was already on medication. She was on the operating table. They had like
Wow.
she's laying down and they have like this sheet separating, so she's not able to see what's going on, but I
Right.
am. If I look over the top, I'm the kind of person that I want to look over and I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've heard that sometimes some dads have passed out. If you pass out in there, they take you out. You're not allowed to go back in there. So
Oh, I didn't know
I'm not
that.
queasy like that. Yeah. So I looked over and it was honestly unreal when you see like the inside of her open up. You see they're like, they're cutting open and they're trying to like grab the baby and pull out. And there was like, a lot of blood everywhere. And
Wow.
it was really intense. And my girlfriend, she was telling me she couldn't feel pain, okay, but she felt like a lot of tugging. She could feel like them pulling back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at one point, she started to feel a little bit of pain, and they gave her more drugs. She was pretty out of it, and it was really an amazing once in a lifetime experience. And when I saw Madison come out, you're hearing her little crying, and then they put her with mommy, and
Yeah.
I think mommy was crying too, and it was just really like an emotional, pretty amazing. It made me appreciate what the doctors do because I'm just like, wow, like I don't know how they do this, like, you know. And they took her out and they weighed her, and luckily, like, thank God, like there was nothing wrong with Madison.
Yeah.
She was five. How much? She was 5 pounds 4 ounces, 5 pounds 4 ounces, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, healthy baby. Everything went fine.
So how?
The experience itself, though. Go
Mhm.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, tell me about the experience itself.
Well, I was just gonna say too. I don't know if this is going a little too far ahead, but I was gonna say like what the experience was like after she came out in the hospital. Like we barely got any sleep. There's nurses coming in
Yeah.
around the clock. We're just
Mm-hmm.
exhausted. Mom's exhausted. I'm exhausted. She had the baby, and I felt like no energy at all. So I just wanted to add that too.
No, no, that's good. I remember that like being exhausted in the hospital. It seemed like just about the time you're about to fall asleep, either Maddie's waking up or the nurses are coming
Yeah.
in or you're just like
And the
hungry.
thing is too, my girlfriend, she's a nurse there, so like all the people know her, so like we even had extra nurses coming in. At one point I was just getting so frustrated. I'm like, what? Like I was just trying to sleep, man. It was so tiring, really
Yeah.
tiring experience.
Man, I know. I totally remember that. Just real quick, Christina from Brothers and Best Friends. She says she's just now joining in. She joined in a few minutes ago. She says they're fortunate in Canada. She's in Canada. They have
Okay.
paternal leave that can be taken by mother or father or both. Pretty much,
Wow.
yeah. It seems like I don't.
I wonder how long though.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, Christina. If you're still around, if you would tell us how long um, you get for paternity leave, and also how long for the men as well. Just out of curiosity. So, so you're talking about your Maddie. Maddie's born. You go through the labor. Now, labor for Mandy was pretty intense. Um,
Yeah.
for me though, like I was just overwhelmed with happiness whenever Maddie finally was born. It took a while. It took much longer than it should have whenever it happened, but it was just like such an overwhelming feeling, and like a happy. I don't even know how to explain it. Just as a
Yeah.
father and seeing that. Now, seeing my wife, like I felt horrible for her. I'll tell you something kind of selfish that I did while she
Okay.
was during labor is my brother was there and he came around and he sent me a text asking me if I wanted something from Whataburger. I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, bring me at least a Sprite. I'm not gonna eat in here, but he brought me a drink,
Yeah.
and I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that because Mandy wasn't allowed to have anything to eat or
Nothing,
drink.
right?
No, just
Yeah.
like what, ice chips,
Did
right?
Manny have like a C-section or regular birth?
No, it was a regular
Just
birth, but
curious.
it took a long
Okay.
time. Maddie's, speaking of my Maddie, her shoulder got stuck behind Mandy's hip, and so they had to get the suction to
Oh.
get her out. And so we kept trying to do it right, like, and finally we were like, we need some intervention of some sort. And this was after, we probably should have done it 2 hours sooner, but we didn't.
Mm,
Yeah, it was pretty
it's
rough.
intense, man.
Yeah, Dan just joined us as well. Um, he said they left their kids in the nursery as much as possible for the first day or so, so mom could get sleep. What do you think about that?
That's a really good idea. Like the nurses over there recommended that to us, but we were just so paranoid. I was paranoid. You hear these stories like babies getting switched out or somebody stealing a baby. It happens. And when they're so young like that, it's really easy to like misidentify what they look like because they're
Right.
so little.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just so paranoid. But I think with the next baby, if and when, I think that we might leave the baby in a nursery because we were just so exhausted, like complete exhaustion. There was one point where my girlfriend was talking to me and I was just literally falling asleep while she was talking to me. So
Wow.
I think that's a good idea to leave the kid in nursery as much as possible.
I think so too, and I think that's when Mandy and I got our best sleep. She had to be taken back to because she was born the way that she was. She had to be taken back to NICU.
Mhm.
Is it NICU?
Oh yeah, NICU. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So she had to be taken back there and for like 3 or 4 hours, I want to say, and that was the best sleep I think we got during that time while in the
Mm.
hospital.
For
Um,
those of you that don't know either, NICU is like neonatal intensive care. It's like the ICU for babies.
yeah, that's right.
So
That's right.
it's for anybody that's watching.
So they just had to check her out because of the way she was born. Um,
Mhm.
Christina says that in Canada they get 40 weeks, um, and
Oh,
then they get an additional 16 weeks of maternity leave, and 55% of their wages for the year, up to approximately 1,700 per month. For most
oh wow.
employees, top up between 95 to 100% of the salary for the year. They're very fortunate. So wow,
That's nice. That's
yeah,
crazy.
it is crazy. And oh my gosh, I just read this message from Chanel saying she needed a C-section after 42 hours of labor.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she said that Sebastian, her husband, was there for the whole time and saw her insides and everything. So that's
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. That's a long time.
that is crazy. One of the things we dealt with too, just to throw it in there real quick, since we're on the topic of
Hmm.
paternity leave, at my hospital, there was a whole situation too, like, going to HR, figuring out, first of all, if they were going to let me take paternity leave. That was a whole ordeal. We had to go to HR several times, back and forth. And then the thing is, too, in our hospital, whether you're married or not, so me and my girlfriend aren't married yet. So if we were, it actually worked out in our favor because for some reason, I don't know if it's a South Florida thing, but if you're married, then they require you to share the hours of maternity
Oh
and
wow,
paternity, which
really?
is crazy.
That is
Yeah. So if I wanted
crazy,
to take time off, I would take time away from mom to be off. That's how it works in my place.
man.
So
I mean,
luckily it worked out.
yeah. I mean, and this is a whole other topic for maybe another day. But just talking about like the what is it called, the FMLA, Family
Yes,
Medical
yes.
Leave Act, right?
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what, 12 weeks or something like
It's
that.
12. Yeah.
Now, I guess I didn't have to share it because I'm self-employed, and
Ah,
because I'm self-employed, that didn't really affect us. So I had no idea. That's crazy. So it sounds like it worked out in
mhm.
in your favor.
It worked out in my favor. The FEMLA thing, I actually had to use all my vacation hours. I had like 200 and something hours. I used it everything up just so I could
Wow.
be home with mom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's pretty rough. All right,
Hmm.
I think we probably should move on because that
Yeah.
labor talk, man, could go on forever. I
Yeah.
mean, it's such a big deal. But so let's get into a little bit of, okay. So now Maddie's born. You guys are back. So you're back at your place, and
Yeah.
so now you're starting to deal with a life before you had a child. To now you have this little bundle of responsibility, a cute bundle of responsibility, of course. But I mean,
Yeah.
it changes it changes so much, and you always hear that this is going to change your life. Tell me in some ways how um, it was different before you had a child and with a child.
Um, well, when we first came home, just to add a little bit to that, a little context to that, it was tough. Like I thought the pregnancy and all that, and before the baby was born, that was a challenge. It's like started almost after she was born. We were very sleep deprived, and I just wanted to throw something else in there. I think that parents should take turns. Like if you come home with the
Mm-hmm.
baby and you're both gonna stay in the room, and baby's waking up every 3 hours, and you're both waking up every 3 hours, you're gonna be exhausted. You're gonna be tired, and that's what we did for a while. I just recommend taking turns and shifts. One person sleep in the living room, one person stay with the baby and take shifts so that way you can be rested because we ended up getting to like arguments and aggravated with each other. And I actually spoke to other parents that told me they went through the same thing where you're just sleep deprived and you just start getting agitated and it's just every little
Mm-hmm.
thing starts to so
Yeah,
definitely recommend taking turns because that was tough. I don't know if you went through any. What did you guys do actually? I'm just kind of curious. Did you take turns? Did you
yeah. It took us a little while to find a rhythm. Of course, as you know, as a parent, once you find a rhythm, that rhythm's going to be changed not long after you find that rhythm. But
totally?
but what we wound up doing is because I'm more of a night person and Mandy's
Mm,
more of a morning person. She usually goes to bed earlier than I do, and I'm just I don't know, just naturally stay up later. So in doing that, we wound up with what we called our infant schedule, and every now and then I'll refer to that in some of our vlogs as our infant schedule, right? So our infant schedule was this. So I was responsible for Maddie up until about 2 in the morning or so,
mm,
or maybe 2:30. Now there would be a little overlap, so between 2 and 3 would be a little overlap, and then Mandy would be responsible for Maddie from like 2 or 3 in the morning until later on, like 6 or 7,
okay.
because naturally my deepest sleep comes around 4 a.m., 4 to 5 a.m. And so her deeper sleep usually happens like around midnight to 1 or so. So that's how we were able to deal with that. So it actually worked out really well once we figured that balance out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And what the original topic you were asking me was like before and after
Yeah, hold up just a
having a
sec.
child, you
Yeah,
said?
hold up just a sec. Let me
Okay.
just interject a couple things here. So, um,
Okay.
Kathleen, and first of all, Christina says that Chanel is an amazing mom. I have to agree with that. 42 hours of labor.
Yeah, that's
Kathleen,
crazy.
yeah, it is. Kathleen said she didn't need to put her daughters in the nursery. She kept them in a room with us, except their oldest. She had to be rushed to the special care nursery because her heart rate dropped. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, that's Christina says from Brothers and Best Friend, you're expected. Okay, so talking about in Canada, they're expected to keep their child with you at all times unless the baby requires medical
Mm,
attention in a special care unit. She said, Christina also says that they did the same thing, taking turns, and each
okay.
got a decent amount of sleep. And it sounds like her routine was similar to mine and Mandy's.
Okay.
So anyway, Christine is leaving. So great to see you, Christina. I said Christine,
Yeah,
but
thanks.
Christina.
Thanks for joining.
Yep. Talk to you later. Okay, so sorry about that. So back to life with a child and without a child. You started to bring up something about that.
Oh yeah. Life without a child and with a child, it's completely different. Life's changed, and it's for the better. It's not anything bad, but I guess I have a different perspective and more responsible, and just having somebody depend on you. Uh, it's pretty much life changing, and uh, it gives you almost like a purpose in life too. And um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. It's completely different. I don't even have like I don't have that much time to hang out with friends all the time and go out all the time. Like it's a different life. I'm not going out and to a club or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even though I would say for some parents they don't adopt that, they still go out to the club, and that's another thing. But
Yeah.
um,
No. No.
not that
I
there's anything wrong with that, but
no. I think
you know,
ultimately what you have to look at is, and at least for me, is and I didn't even start asking this question probably until a year down the line. But I always have to ask myself, what is best for Maddie? Because
mm,
it's no longer about me anymore. Um, it's about the child and what their needs are more than mine. I can work around her schedule, she can't work around mine, right? So, um,
Right, right.
um, life before a child was me traveling more. I still travel some now, but me traveling more and even making an effort to find jobs where I can travel, to now
Mm,
trying to stay more local, at least in my work.
right,
Now, I still every now and then, like I said, I have to travel. That's required at some point. Um, but being able to stay local and nearby actually really helps us out because then we can take on the responsibility a little more equally than we could otherwise.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, man. There are a lot of different things that you start missing out on as,
Yeah,
yeah, as like you'll be invited to things you just can't go to. Um,
yeah. You can't go, and sometimes it's just so much preparation too, right? To get your child ready, to
oh my
get him
gosh,
dressed,
it's
and
just not even
right.
worth it. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah,
like, okay, no offense. I love visiting you at your house, but honestly, I don't want to keep up with my kid at your house. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
much easier there in your own environment where you've got everything the way it needs to be. But somewhere
Right.
else, it's
Something I
just
kind of want to ask you too is
yeah.
because I haven't gotten to that. My daughter's not walking yet,
Okay,
and I hear some of the experiences you tell me sometimes with Madison walking around, and um, is your daughter's name Madison or Madeline?
it's
It's
Madeline.
Madison,
It's
right?
Madeline.
Madeline, what?
Madeline.
Madeline. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But like, how's the difference from when they can't walk or run to now she's running and walking and like, is this a lot harder?
I'm gonna say it becomes a lot more physical because now you're chasing
Mm,
them through. Where before maybe it was like okay, you're cleaning up poo and pee and that kind of thing, and it goes from that to now you're chasing them around, making sure they're not gonna fall off a couch or climb up a window or climb up on a
uh,
table and jump off this table,
yeah.
fall into somebody's fireplace, that kind of thing. And so
Right, right.
yeah, yeah, and
Oh
that's the
man.
kind of thing. That's where we're at right now. So anytime we go anywhere, we just like and I feel like a helicopter parent at sometimes because it's just like I'm just there like this, like don't fall. Now she's getting on trampolines and things like that with some of her
Oh
cousins and
Lord.
friends, and I'm like, oh, she's too young to be on a trampoline. Don't put her on there,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it crazy. It's pretty crazy. Real quick, I want to interject. Chanel says her lives are all about her son now. For the first year, they just miss sleep. She says it gets better after the first year in regards to sleep. Now I'll say
Okay.
that's true. Chanel right now is saying Melvin, get ready for the walking. She won't want you to hold her
Sure. Wait.
anymore.
Oh, Lord.
No,
I
she
have a feeling she's gonna be all over the place. She has a lot of energy. She has
yeah.
some of my personality, my crazy, like all over the place. So I have a feeling it's gonna be pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We call Melvin the honey badger because he's always going after something. He's always going after something.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude. As soon as you have an idea, boom, he's on it. It's pretty cool though. Okay, um, I wanted to talk a little bit about the phases of a child's life and how it affects us, but I think that's kind of what we've been talking about here.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
Now, I'll tell you though that my whole mindset changed after like a year. So Maddie had her birthday, her 1 year birthday.
Mm,
Man, it's been wow, it's been a year and a half now almost. Wow, I can't believe that. She's 28 months now. Wow,
okay.
that's crazy. So when she had her first birthday, um, when she had her first birthday, like my mind, I don't know, something clicked in my mind and said, "Wow, you're a father." Now, why did it take me a year to realize that I need to be more responsible for this child than I have been? I have no idea. It just kind of like clicked. Um,
That happens to me every now and then. I get like these little. I feel like sometimes I get comfortable and I get like these realizations. Like I'm a dad. Like I have to be more responsible. I have to watch. I can't just buy whatever or spend on whatever. I have to think about her too. Like I feel like I get that in waves sometimes.
yeah,
And I think it's different for everybody too.
yeah, I totally agree. So, man, there are all kinds of different phases. Just speaking of the phases of life, you'll get your daughter where she's sleeping throughout the night, and then she'll have some regression, and then you lose sleep again, and then she'll fall. But you know what I mean? Have you
Right.
gone through that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. There's times where she's great, she'll sleep all night, and then there's other times where it's just like waking up, crying, fussing every couple hours, or just up for a couple hours, and you know.
Yeah. Now you had sent me an article just recently about postpartum depression and how it can affect dads. Now, reading this article, I'm gonna switch over to it, so we're looking at that now. So, reading this article, I noticed
Nice.
that there's a guy from what was it called, Outdaughtered. This guy named Adam Busby from the reality TV show Outdaughtered. He opened up
Okay.
about his postpartum depression, and he received backlash right away because I guess
Really?
yeah. Um, and then in the comments, people were telling him to man up. I'll tell you also that this guy, Outdaughtered, I believe they have a YouTube channel called It's a Buzzworld.
Okay.
So you might check that out at some point. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I
so
definitely.
yeah, he has like I don't remember if it's 5 or 6 daughters, but I think he has a set of so he has one daughter and then like quadruplets, and they're all they're all little girls. I'm like,
Mm.
this is crazy
Yeah.
that people are telling him to man up. What do you think about that?
I think a lot of it falls into the role of as men. I mean, a lot of times we're not seen as a parent. I feel like in certain situations, and I also feel like with the whole postpartum depression thing, people feel like when it comes to parenthood or a mom having a baby, it's like for some people it's like dads don't have any kind of equation in that whole thing. It's like they're just supposed to be man, you're just supposed to man up, don't cry, stop complaining. You can't have depression, you can't express your feelings because we're men, we're supposed to hide our feelings kind of thing, you know. And
Yeah,
they according to this article they did a huge study where they said it does happen, it actually does exist, and this is falls in line also with what we are talking about, the whole education thing in the hospitals.
right.
I was talking to my girlfriend earlier about this, and she said that now she's actually telling mom and dad about postpartum and kind of teaching them and stuff, but not all nurses do that, you know. So there's a lot of interesting information about in this article, but I'm not surprised that he got backlash and that people like attacked him and all that stuff. I'm sure he wasn't just making that up. I don't think any guy would just make that up or further even more like speak out about that because
Yeah,
sometimes you're afraid to speak out about that,
yeah.
you know?
I totally agree. And looking at this article, it the study is related to um, uh, testing the testosterone in men related to the higher depression. Um,
Right.
right? And so, in reading the article, it seems like so. Where was it that they did the study of the 600 different men?
Okay.
I
The
think it was
study was in the Philippines.
okay.
It was 600 single men, and they followed them for 5 years. And when the men became partnered fathers during that time,
Mm-hmm.
their testosterone levels decreased more than the men who stayed single. He also found that fathers who spent more time with their children showed lower testosterone, suggesting that testosterone may be suppressed by parental caregiving.
It's real interesting reading through this because you'll find that men that have the lower testosterone and the fact that they've taken care of the children are the fact that they're prone to depression, it kind of makes sense physiologically, but the men who have either an increased or the same amount of testosterone, they're more aggressive, and they have and as far as their relationships go with their significant others, it's generally not as good.
That's what I was reading. That's so interesting, right? They were saying that the men that had less testosterone actually had better relationships, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yep, because they're more
With
likely
the other.
to take part in raising the child, and I guess it gives
Mhm.
the mom more time to, uh, uh, you know what I mean? It actually
Yeah,
support. It gives her more support. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
right, right.
Um,
You know what was interesting too about this article? I kind of want to talk to you about. It said that many studies have found testosterone dips in new fathers in the animal kingdom also. So animals that engage in biparental care for offspring, they did a test on gerbils, hamsters, mice, cotton top tamarins, show lower testosterone levels. So it's almost like I found this interesting too that it happens with animals too. I don't know if it's like I was talking to my girlfriend about this. I don't know if it's part of our biological makeup that I don't know, our fathers not really supposed to be, fathers are maybe supposed to be out hunting, like in a
Yeah.
primitive,
Yeah.
thinking about it in a primitive way, like back in the day,
Right.
caveman, like men are supposed to be out hunting and, doing this and that. And, obviously the times have changed now. Dad and
Hmm.
mom 50-50. Sometimes mom's making more and all this different situations. But
Right.
I wonder if it's like in our DNA structure, our makeup, that we're supposed to be out, like, I don't know. And that when we start to co-parent, it like decreases testosterone or something.
It is an interesting. It is an interesting read, and I'll be sure to leave. Um, I'll be sure to leave the resource, the information for this article in the
Mhm.
comment in the description down below. Chanel says, "Well, doesn't testosterone cause men to be more aggressive?" Yes, and we're talking about like the lowering of the testosterone rather than the increase of the testosterone. So lower, and Chanel says
That's
so
a really good
lower.
point.
Yeah, so she says so lower would be better when a dad is taking care of the baby, which is right, but there is a healthy balance to that, and it talks about it in this article that if you don't have that balance, so if the testosterone levels are too low, then what's going to happen is the men are going to have a tendency, a propensity toward depression, and if it's too high,
Right.
then they're going to have problems within their relationship. So finding that balance where men are going to be at least not depressed, or if they're going to be um, able to have a good relationship with their partner,
Right.
is kind of a hard thing to do, trying to find that specific balance.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and I think she brings up a really great point that maybe what she said there. She said so the lower would be better when a dad is taking care of the baby. Um, like the whole thing with shaken baby syndrome and how men are more prone to lash out and just rage and like shake a baby or hurt the baby. That could all do with this testosterone too. It might have something to do with that. And what she's saying is maybe it is in our DNA for men to decrease testosterone so that you can care give for a child without, you know, acting out or going aggressively.
It is.
Um,
It
and
is.
just testosterone is so important for men too. Like you gotta have, if you're insufficient in testosterone, I mean, depression, stress, interrupted sleep, your sexual desire is just gone.
Just a.
Hopefully that doesn't get us demonetized just saying that word. You might
There
have to
you
edit
go.
this
You
out
just
later.
did it, man.
um,
Yeah,
it just
but
has such like mental and physical effects, on your body for men.
yeah, yeah. Physiologically, for men, I mean, it's important for women to have that balance of estrogen and testosterone as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But for men, physiologically, if that has decreased a lot, then you'll see higher levels. You'll see more people with depression. You're right. More men with
Mm,
depression, more specifically.
yeah,
So yeah, I thought that was an interesting read, and thanks for sharing that. That's from the Scientific American, and they
yeah.
actually had got this from. They actually had shared this from a mental health thing called the Conversation. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so it was
Yeah, the
actually
conversation.
exactly. So anyway, um, moving on just a little bit. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I've become a new man. I kind of have a new identity um, in having Maddie and being her father. We talked a
Yeah.
little bit about this, but becoming more responsible, realizing that now I've got to provide. So and I want to get back to something. So and I don't mean to interrupt you
No, no,
or
you're good.
anything. So an issue that I had was when Maddie was born, I became super protective of Maddie, like crazy
Mm,
protective, so much to the extent that I was protective of I was protective of Maddie, even in regards to Mandy, and so I tried to take control of everything, and that was not a healthy or good thing for me to do.
I've definitely done the same thing. I totally
Yeah,
agree with you, and I'm sure my girlfriend can agree too.
yeah,
But even for example, like let's say my girlfriend has Madison and she starts crying out loud, like I'll run to the room. It's just kind of a reaction, but I know my girlfriend would never do anything to hurt her, but I just the whole overprotective thing, and I almost feel like for dads too, it's almost like our job. Like we always want to make sure our baby, and our significant other, they're safe and protected.
hmm
I definitely was like that. I'm still like that. I mean,
yeah.
I've gotten better though over time, but I can definitely relate to what you're saying.
Well, my main thing is just giving up some of that control and just saying, you know what,
Oh,
I know you got this. you know,
Right.
because oh, my wife's very educated. She she knows how to take, Mandy. She knows
Yeah.
what she's doing, and it's not that I don't think that she is. It's just like an auto, like you said, kind of an auto reaction to be
Right.
protective,
Right.
and even to sometimes snap in the moment, when I probably shouldn't have, and so
Right.
I'm calling myself out on that.
No, I appreciate you keeping it, being honest, keeping it real.
Yo.
It's definitely been an experience for us, me and my girlfriend, and it was probably one of the toughest experiences that we've been through is having a
Hmm.
child and our relationship and how everything has changed. It changes the dynamic, I think, and um, I believe it's made us stronger. And
Hmm.
I've done a lot of selfish things too, and even with the YouTube thing, so now I try to make time. It's all a balance, man. Like you really have
Oh
to like
man.
try to balance everything out. It's kind of tough.
Hmm.
Um, but I love being a parent. I would never take it back. I never had any regrets
Yeah,
about
same here.
Madison, and it's been a really good, amazing experience.
So I want to just like I just had a thought. So there's another friend of mine who has maybe an 8 month old, and they read a book
Uh,
called, I think it's called Raising Bebe. It's a book. Um,
mhm.
I think it's a book that maybe was originally written in France or is it French, and so it's kind of how they raise children in Europe. He's Europe. He's originally European, Americanized now,
Mhm.
naturally. But anyway, so he was telling me that what they do is, while your life kind of revolves around your child, he says in this book it talks about how um, you have to make that child part of whatever you're doing. So you take the child into different
Mm,
places, instead of, and you raise that child in that way. So I thought that was an interesting um, kind of thing. Now I've never read the book. Sounds like an interesting concept in parenting. What do you think about that?
right. Uh, I think it's good. Like I've actually thought of things like it makes you think of the whole thing of like,
Hmm.
I mean, and if I'm understanding this correctly, like as far as like YouTube and like doing things, like I started thinking eventually I'm gonna have to maybe involve like even my girlfriend. She's helping out with bigger projects, and then even my daughter and some of the
Hmm.
things that I do. Um, because if I don't, I don't think we're gonna have as much time. Uh, I think if I was somehow able to incorporate her, like in some of the videos and all this
Hmm.
stuff, um, I don't know.
So is that
I
something?
like it.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I think it's a great concept. Is that something that your girl's interested in doing? Is being, part of what you've got going on here on YouTube?
I think she is. I mean, I try to get her involved with the big projects, and
Mm-hmm.
she actually does like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives me feedback a lot of times with the videos, and it's my way of including her in something that I'm passionate about, and I'm sure it makes her feel more involved. And also, it's a way for us to spend time together. Also, when I'm doing this, I mean,
Yeah.
we do spend time outside of YouTube, but I think it's great when you can involve your family and kind of that stuff, so you guys can do it together, and you got the bonding and the relationship thing going on instead of not having your family involved and you're just by yourself doing this stuff and
Right.
you know
Well, yeah, and I think
I
it's
don't know.
good. I think it's good, that you have your own thing, but something like this that takes up so much time,
Oh yeah.
and especially looking at your channel. Let's just look at this channel. Look at your channel real quick. So looking at your
Okay.
channel, you you talk about different things related to baby stuff. So it's like you have to make this somewhat. You have to kind of get the family involved because of the type of content that you're
Right.
putting out, right?
Right.
Um, so I think that it's great that you have these family vlogs as well. Um, you've got, man, you just got like all kinds of different things. Like I said, man,
Yeah,
this guy's doing
I'm all over the place.
he's doing everything. He's doing everything over there. There's his channel. You can check it out. Um,
Sometimes I always kind of wonder like is that going to work against me doing so many different things instead of focusing on one niche.
mm-hmm.
Like the pro about it is that I have so much different content I could always put out. The con about it is that there might be people here for a specific type of content.
Right.
So if I'm releasing all different kinds of content, they might unsubscribe. They might not like, all the different variety of things that I'm posting. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's gonna be interesting to see how it works out.
you're right. And I run into the same issue, but from what I've heard from all the kind of YouTube advisors, it's like, when your channel is smaller, like like ours are,
Mm,
that you're in a place where you can test a lot of things out and find out what's going to work,
right,
right? Once you
right,
get larger, you really have to kind of keep with like a specific type of content, and if that's family or assemblies or how tos, then that's what you got to stick with. Now I know we're kind of getting
right,
off.
right.
We're getting a little off topic here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's something for another day. Um, so let's move back. Let's move back over here to talking about. So tell me like what you love about being a dad, and how.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me something like that.
Okay. Well, I thought about this. I was thinking about it, and I would say that one of the best parts of being a dad for me personally,
Hmm.
I would say is having a chance to give Madison what my dad didn't give me.
Yeah.
And being there for her and being there to support her. There's so many kids without fathers or moms,
Yeah.
but since we're talking about dads, I think dads are play a really important role in in women and men because
Hmm.
I didn't have my dad that much around growing up, and I feel like he should have been there to guide me with relationships, to guide me with how to put on a tie, small things like that.
Yeah.
That he wasn't there for. So I think the biggest thing for me is having a chance to do it right the way he wasn't able to. And my girlfriend, she actually feels similar. I'm not going to go into specifics about her situation, but she almost has a similar thing. And for her, it's like a chance for her to, to do things differently.
Yeah.
And,
Hmm.
and another thing too that I express all the time to Madison is that I love her. I tell her I love her. When I was growing up, my mom didn't say that often,
Hmm.
and I know she does. My mom's a great mom. She does love me, but it just wasn't said in the household. So something I'm doing too differently is that we say it openly in the household and we're not afraid to, or it's not an awkward thing to say, because I know a lot of people grew up without even saying I love you in the
Yeah.
household.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I think that's really good and commendable that you're trying to in some ways make something right. Um,
yeah.
uh, um, for me, it's just like for me, it seems like a battle every day. My Maddie she's very willful, very stubborn at times. I'll ask
Mm.
her if she wants to wear these jeans, and she'll say no, this one, and I'll be like, okay. If it's pink day, I have to say you want the blue one. Then she'll say no, I want this one. Talking about the pink one, right? So
Okay.
it's crazy. So it's a battle all the way through. Like it seems like the entire day at times. At the very end of the day, though, whenever she runs to me, gives me a hug, kisses my face, that's the kind of thing that makes it all worthwhile. Just the very
That's true.
small things can make the biggest problems just kind of go away. At least for me.
That's so true. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Completely true. There's been times too where like I've just had a rough day or like just completely tired and exhausted. And I'll be there, she'll be there, and I can hug her. Sometimes she'll cuddle with me, and it just kind of makes me feel a lot better. And
Yeah.
um, it's amazing. And something I'm kind of curious about or wondering about, or
Mm-hmm.
just I always hear how like when kids they start to get older, they start to rebel. Somebody told me the other day when they're small they run to you. When they get older they run away from you. So I'm kind of wondering when she gets into her teenage years, or oh, I hate you, Dad. The kids just start to go crazy and stuff. I
Yeah.
wonder how that's gonna go.
I do too. I do
So,
too. And so, if you're here and you've been in that situation, you've been through that stage of life, if you would comment below, give us some advice
yeah.
because I really don't know how we're gonna handle that. And I guess it's just gonna be like,
Mhm.
everything else. We're learning all this as we go along, and you can watch and
Right.
observe people every day, all day long. But you know, every child is different, and every child's gonna respond differently. Um,
Right.
yeah, so it's like, what do you do? And I've talked to people about this, and they may give me advice, how things are going to change or be different, but I mean, I don't really know that. I don't think until we get to that point,
Yeah. Definitely.
you know.
Hmm.
So I just that part of becoming a dad is pretty cool. Now we've kind of done Q&As as we've gone through this. If anybody
Yeah.
has any questions for me or Melvin, you guys can leave those questions in the comments below. I'm going to ask you this, and you kind of talked about this a little bit. Melvin, you're still in your first year of being a dad. What would
Yeah.
you say to some to another dad or another father who's about to become a dad, what kind of advice would you give them? Any thoughts on that? And you
um,
have given some advice throughout the whole thing, but just like kind
yeah,
of like to
yeah,
sum it up, maybe.
yeah. There's just so much that it involves being a parent, right? So it's like how to sum it up in a couple words. Um, what I would say is just try to be patient, try to be understanding, be there for mom,
Yep.
be there for your child. Everybody makes mistakes. Nothing, there's no real maybe guide to being a parent. So you're gonna make mistakes and things are gonna happen. Um, and I think that it's important to mom and dad to try to be on a team,
Yeah.
and communicate with each other and help each other out. Um, because it'll make a difference. And try to be understanding and appreciative of your significant other, because I kind of used to struggle with that. And we would argue. And looking back now, and I told this to
Yep.
my girlfriend the other day, like, I really appreciate you and you've done a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to do some of these YouTube videos because she's watching Madison,
Yeah.
and she takes great care of her. So um take care of your child, love your child, but also don't forget about your significant other and be very appreciative of them, and try to get some teamwork going on, and like communicate if you need some time to go do something, communicate that
Mm-hmm.
with your significant other. We were just talking about that the other day
Yep.
too. So I told my girlfriend, like, hey, let me know. Like, I'll take her, you go do something, take care of yourself, or just relax. And so I guess that would be my
I th-
overall
I think you said
uh
2 words. Is that your kind of your overall summary of advice
yeah.
for a new dad?
Yeah, I think that'll be my overall summary. And definitely, like we're doing now too, communicate with other dads, communicate with other
Yeah,
moms.
for
Sometimes it
sure.
helps just to talk and get
Mm-hmm.
some advice from people in the community.
Yeah.
So,
I think you said, an extremely important word, and I'm just going to reiterate this. You said it several times, is
okay.
communicate.
Yeah,
Yeah, when there's that lack of communication, then you're not going to know what your significant other is thinking, or, you have to communicate on how you're going to raise this child together, I think,
exactly.
because you may have different views and opinions. But if you communicate that with each other, then you'll at least come to some kind of compromise or understanding. And sometimes it may be completely opposite sides of the spectrum, and other times it may be right there in the middle and align with each other. So I think that that's an extremely important thing, is communicate. And then the second thing I want to say is, and something you brought up is, if you need time to yourself, that or if mom needs time,
Yeah,
we're talking about dads right now. So if you as a dad need time to yourself, communicate that and get that time, because if you don't, you're gonna go crazy.
yeah,
And I'm not talking about playing.
totally.
I'm not talking about playing golf every weekend either. You know what I mean? I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like, you get to a point where if you don't get away for a little bit of time for yourself, then that's going to cause problems ultimately. And
yeah, I
Mandy's,
agree.
yeah, Mandy, my wife's really great about giving me that kind of time that I need. And I try to do the same for her. I probably should do it more. Um, but
Likewise.
yeah, yeah. The thing is it comes down to communication. It's like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and I don't. The problem that I have is I tell her like a day or two before something that I want to do. I'm like, things come up in my
Yeah.
life a lot. They're about I get invited to all kinds of things. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and then it's kind of the last minute. So communication extremely important, I think. And did you have anything you wanted to reiterate or add to that?
Um, just yeah, just to add on too, since hearing you talk made me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this could probably be for another time, another conversation,
Sure.
but there's all kinds of things that come up as a parent, like as like that you never even thought about before. Like, are you gonna baptize a child? What
Mm-hmm.
religion are you in? Is that gonna
Yeah,
be a problem?
those are really good
You know,
points.
are you gonna get the ears pierced, or
Mm-hmm.
what other things? There's so many other things that some parents might be okay with, other parents might not. You might have different views, and it could be problems. It could be some serious problems that you should definitely communicate. Even if you haven't had a child and you're thinking about having a child with somebody and you're about to do it, those are some good things to talk about, some good topics. And there was a ton of more things that I can think of.
So
I can't
much,
really remember
right?
right now. I came up that we were just like, oh wow, like I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
so.
And you're never going to get it perfect, and that's the other thing
Yeah,
is, don't expect that you're going to be the perfect, like, no matter how planned out you're going to be, or no matter how much you have planned ahead of time. Now, I'm not saying you should do as much as you can, right, to plan
Right,
before
right,
that child is here, which I didn't have a crib ready. All kind,
right.
like I said, another conversation for another day. But to have, no matter how much you plan things out, it's never going to be perfect, and you just have to accept that
Mhm.
you're not a perfect person, and that you're
Right,
going to do the best that you can. And as long as you're doing the best that you can, then I think that's the most important thing.
right, right.
So
Agree.
yeah. So Melvin, you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that was it, man. This was a really good uh live stream, a good conversation. I think you did awesome doing the live chat, doing the topics, like doing all that stuff at the same time. I know it can be pretty tough,
Yeah, I had a few
so that was
technical
a good job.
issues, but before we
Yeah.
leave, Melvin, I wanted to talk about specifically something that you're doing on your channel. Um,
Okay.
let's go over to your channel. I'm gonna flip over here. Now, you told me a little bit about the giveaways. Let's talk about
Yes.
specifically about the Amazon giveaway, because I think that's something everyone might be interested in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm gonna browse over here to that video now. I'm not gonna start it because I don't want a
Okay.
content ID claim on mine.
Okay.
But I will bring it up here, and I'll also add this. Let's make sure it doesn't autoplay here. It looks like it's trying to. Let me pause this. I
Okay.
turned
Yeah,
autoplay
thanks, man.
off.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's trying to load. Um,
Okay.
it's trying to load an ad. Is what it's trying to do.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get past that ad. Let me mute the desktop audio here. Okay. All right. Just muted it. All right. There you are. It's just running slow a little bit right now. Okay. Okay. So are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
And do what it is I love
Okay. It
doing.
sounds like
I
we
got a
may
couple
have
of
lost
announcements.
audio
I'm doing a
from
new.
Melvin.
Oh
So I guess I'll just
no.
have to wrap this up. Tell you guys a little bit about
All right.
what's going on here. Melvin is giving away $100 gift card, and he's giving that gift card away through a website called Gleam. So if you go to his channel, which I've left in the
Testing, testing.
description below, if you go to his channel and find this video, I'll also leave a link to this video in the description below. You will find that he is giving away a $100 Amazon gift card, which is pretty big deal. There are a few things you have to do. It's through a website called Gleam. So guys, I want to thank you guys all for just hanging out with us here on Maddie's Daddy. And if at any point, love to have you back at any time.
I think it's
Let's see
calling.
here. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. I appreciate it, and we will. So anyway, like I said, thank you guys for joining us. We will talk to you next time. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And if you have any comments or questions or anything like that in this replay, please be sure to leave them in the comments below. Be sure you subscribe to Melvin's channel at iCkEdMeL,
Thank you.
iCkEdMeL, and subscribe here for more how-tos, news, reviews, and these live streams that we're doing. All right, guys. Talk to you all later. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you next time. Bye.